Hello! Now today is going to be a video all about the first succession sowings and some other sowings that I want to do. So essentially we're sowing seeds today. Now I had a few comments after the first succession video about can you let us know when you're going to be planting yours. So I thought, yeah, I can do that. Now when we did the May garden tour a couple of videos back, you saw where our overwintering onions were and where our overwintering spring onions were. Now in that strip of soil there we shall be putting our sprouts, so that will be the first of the succession crops that we sow. Now I know a lot of people out there sow their sprouts early in the year, March and April. We don't tend to sow ours until May, and then they'll go out into the ground in June, and we still get our harvest from November onwards with the variety that we're going to grow, which is Broody. Now we've grown Broody for the last 2 or 3 seasons and we find it to be a really great sprout. They're not too tall, but they produce masses of sprouts. We should just fill a pot up with some multi-purpose compost. Seed. Ultimately I want 12 plants. So as usual we'll sow a few more than that. And then we shall take some compost and just lightly cover. Now at this time of the year it won't take very long at all before these germinate, and what we shall do is we shall then prick these out and into modules until we're then ready to put them into the ground. So that's the first succession sowing, the sprout Broody. And like I said in the previous video on succession sowing, you know, you always want to be having plants ready. So be sowing, and then as soon as you get spaces appear, you can then fill those gaps. Now the next thing that I'm going to sow is some celery, and it would be the second sowing, but we didn't actually sow any earlier on in the year. Normally we'll do 2 sowings a year, so earlier in the year around about February time, and then another sowing in May. Like I say, we didn't get round to doing it. I need to listen to my own jobs for the month. That's been well saturated. And as I said, celery seed is so fine, so tiny, which is why you don't really want to be watering these after you've just sown them. So we're just going to scatter these over. And then just like the sprouts that we sowed earlier, once they're through and germinated, we shall prick those out and pot them on until we're ready to put them out into the garden. So we'll just give them a light dusting of compost. They don't need a huge amount. Bit of a lump there, which we don't want. Just temper it down a bit, and that's another sowing done. The variety we're growing is golden self-blanching. Haven't grown that one before, but I have heard really good things about it, so we're going to give that a try. Now next, what I want to do is to sow our runner beans and our climbing French beans. And mid-May, it's a really good time to be sowing these. So, just filling this pot up. You're probably better off with pots. You could grow them in modules, but you do need a fairly big and deep module. And I've seen people do that before. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's something that we will probably look to do in the future. But I don't have any of those particular kind of modules, so I'm going to be using little pots. So we'll start with the runner bean. The variety we're growing is Firestorm. Now they want to be about 1.5 inches deep. So I'm just going to make a hole up to my knuckle, pop the bean in, and then cover that over with some soil. So I just give these seeds a watering to help them get started with their germination. And the lovely thing about this time of the year is that everything germinates so quickly. The temperatures are much warmer, and it won't be long before we see these pop through at all. The next time we shall see those beans will be when we plant them. If you remember, we're going to plant them on our bean tunnel and try and make a tunnel of beans. Now, off camera, we actually sowed some more spring onions, which are a follow-on crop. And the only reason we didn't film that is because there is a video back earlier in the year sowing our onions where you can see exactly how we sow the spring onions. And we've done quite a lot of sowing today, so you don't just want to be seeing me sowing seeds. Now, the reason why we have sown those seeds is, we showed you these back in the May garden tour. These spring onions were sown last August, and we've been enjoying these since April, and they've got a bit of a bulb on them, so we can use them as onions. And actually, interestingly enough, if you haven't seen when onions are deciding to bolt and go to seed, here is one. So these have been here a long time, and it's decided it wants to throw up a seed head, and that's what they look like. And all you need to do is snap that off. There you go, that's what it looks like. But what you do want to be doing is to pull this onion, and it wants to be used as soon as possible, so then it won't go all woody. This is a perfectly good onion. Yeah, and that's what they'll look like when they go to seed. They're the onions that we're using now, and these are the ones we sowed back in March on our onion sowing video. And you can see that these are, now coming to a harvestable size. And these will see us through June and July, and that is what's known as a follow-on crop. We shall see you on the next video.